Hello! Welcome to my review of the exotic sidearm, the Trespasser. This gun was introduced in Rise of Iron and can be obtained from Xur, Nightfalls, decrypting engrams, or just other general in-game activities like the Raid. If you care at all about the lore, this is actually Shiro 4's personal sidearm. So let's get started. The signature perk on the gun, Be the Danger. This weapon fires bursts of bullets with deadly accuracy. We've seen a perk like this on another certain sidearm, but this one actually works. Dreg's Promise had burst fire on a sidearm, but lacked hit scan, so there was no real consistency in the shots. Trespasser is hit scan, so you can be sure that your shot will go exactly where you want it to. No more of this guesswork with bullet travel speed. For sights, we have Fast Hand IS, a lightweight design, good for recoil control. Steady Hand IS, optimized for excellent recoil control. And Sure Shot IS, excellent handling, superb target acquisition. If you look at all of the recoil patterns of these guns, you'll probably be alarmed at how similar they are. The only real difference that I found was with Sure Shot having slightly more vertical recoil. I ended up keeping it on Sure Shot since that does up the aim assist by a tiny amount. One of the strengths of sidearms is their extremely high aim assist, so adding a little bit more to that will help me gain my target when I'm swapping to the weapon quickly. If you're having success with one of the other sights, then keep using it. Sights on these weapons mostly come down to personal preference. Next up is Relentless Tracker. Kills with this weapon grant enhanced motion tracker resolution for a short time. There isn't much to say about this perk. Kills will allow you to use the radar to seek out your next kill easier in PvP. It will also allow resource nodes to show up on your radar if you really want to use this thing for farming in PvE. For the stat mod perks, we have Hand Loaded. This weapon is effective at an extended range. Reinforced Barrel, increased range but reduced stability. And finally, Quick Draw, which allows the gun to be drawn faster. After a lot of testing, I ended up settling on Hand Loaded. Normally, I would be going all in on range with Reinforced Barrel, but you have to keep in mind this is a burst fire weapon, so stability needs to be taken into account to keep your burst as consistent as possible. Since sidearms have such an abrupt fall-off range, I found that it wasn't worth the loss in stability for that small bit of extra range compared to the free range that you get from Hand Loaded. Quick Draw is also an option, but the normal equip speed is already pretty high. If you play better with it, then go for it, but I like the peace of mind that extra little bit of range gave me from Hand Loaded. The final perk is Unrepentant. Reloading after a kill causes the next burst to be a longer, more powerful super burst. This is the perk that takes the gun from novelty to a huge threat in PvP. It's entirely possible to one-burst someone in PvP after you get this perk active. Once you pull the trigger, it essentially unleashes 2 bursts faster than it would normally take to do them by normal trigger pulling. That doesn't sound like anything special, but it's unbelievably consistent burst damage that takes people by surprise. The perk itself must be activated within 1 second of killing something. After that, you have 5 seconds to use the special burst fire shot before it goes away. So let's get into the PvE section. I could easily just say, this is a sidearm, don't use it in PvE, and that would succinctly explain it. But, let's be thorough. As far as sidearms go in PvE, this is probably the best one to use due to the burst damage. It will shred through arc shields and reward you with some fast damage. But aside from that, it has 0 strengths over a normal primary weapon. The point of a secondary weapon, especially in PvE, is to have a gun that excels in specific situations. Sniper rifles pump out damage on crit spots. Shotguns chunk away health bars when stuff is too close to you. Fusion rifles do the same, but with a charge-up time and a little bit more range. Sidearms? Well, they peck away at health at the same rate that a scout or pulse rifle does, and at a worse range. They have 0 benefits other than spawning with ammo? You can't use them to kill anything other than tier 1 mobs quickly, and they're just not worthwhile on bosses since their range falloff is really abrupt. I know this is a PvP test here, but look at the difference between max range and base range on Trespasser. Anything outside of this distance will be granting you lower numbers, and lower damage numbers in PvE on a weapon type that already has low damage is not something I can recommend using. Hopefully we can see sidearms get some more changes in the future to make them PvE viable, maybe giving them some sort of hidden high caliber rounds perk, but only in PvE to allow staggering mobs. That might be cool. As of right now, they just feel like a gun that was designed purely for PvP combat, which is fortunate because the Trespasser is quite possibly one of my favorite weapons in PvP right now. It's fully capable of two-bursting someone. However, as most of us have come to realize by now, the theoretical time to kill of a weapon and the practical time to kill of a weapon are two completely different things. Trespasser can two-burst, but most times it's going to take about 3 to 4 bursts to kill someone due to the body shots or missed rounds and the burst. The real threat of the weapon is the Unrepentant perk. Since it essentially does 2 bursts in the time that it takes to do 1 burst, it gives you a huge amount of damage to start a fight with. Most of the time I ended up using Unrepentant to just burst someone's shield down plus a little bit more of their health, rather than going for the potential 1 burst to the head. For perks in PvP, I really suggest that you just use hand-loaded as previously mentioned. After using this gun extensively in 6v6, 3v3, and trials, I don't recommend that you make the recoil any less consistent for the tiny bit of range you get. Quick draw might be another option, but this isn't really a gun that you want to quickly swap to so you can peck something down like other sidearms. While it is possible to do that, the real strength of the gun is almost using it like a primary when in close to medium ranges, and having a scout or pulse equipped to take care of the longer ranges. Whenever I went into an area that I knew was known for closer fights, I just swapped to the gun beforehand. The only time I would swap to this in a panic was during the inevitable person rushing you with a shotgun. At that point, the 2 or 3 extra frames you get from quick draw isn't going to help you. You have to be keenly aware of your surroundings when using this gun, since its main strength is being able to completely hose anyone who wants to try and rush in on you. If you can get a read on someone who's likely to rush in from mid-range and catch them in the act, then the Trespasser will punish them almost every time. The other big strength of this gun, and sidearms in general, is the high aim assist. This allows players to be extremely mobile and still take advantage of the gun's damage at a close to medium range, which I suppose is why I love using them, since I'm always bouncing around everywhere in PvP. In Year 1, hand cannons were able to do this since they didn't have their current inconsistent nature in high movement scenarios. Now, sidearms kind of take that place in the high movement, medium range tool. The only real drawbacks I can find to the weapon are mostly related to ammo. This is a burst fire weapon, so I know it sounds amazing that you can 2-burst someone, but that's 6 rounds from the magazine at best. Generally, it will take you around 9 to 12 rounds to kill someone. With an 18-round magazine, that means you aren't going to have many reloads before you're simply out of ammo. Shotguns are such an effective pair to the movement in the game, just like sidearms, but their ammo efficiency is unparalleled. You pull the trigger on a shotgun, chances are because you know that shot will kill. Sidearms have to pick away at health, which leaves way more time to miss rounds and lengthens time to kill. I ended up finding the most success pairing Trespasser with longer range weapons in PvP, something like the Trial Scout or a Hawksaw type pulse rifle. Since the Trespasser is so effective in the short to medium ranges, you will want your primary to help maybe peck away at people far away, or get some easy shots off on someone who just escaped your sidearm range. Alright, I think that about does it for the review. Hopefully I've swayed you to at least try out the gun if you have it. My favorite thing about it is that it just makes playing PvP fun. It has satisfying sounds and perfectly fulfills the fantasy of how I want to play the Hunter. I just wish I could use the damn thing with no land beyond. I hope you found the review helpful. I'll see you next time.